What happens when TV's sharpest comedian meets the world's most controversial billionaire? Last night, viewers watched in shock as Stephen Colbert's interview with Elon Musk exploded into chaos, ending with the Tesla CEO storming off set after a series of brutal exchanges about his companies, tweets, and business failures. The studio lights dimmed as the familiar late show theme music faded. The audience, still buzzing from the opening monologue, fell silent as Stephen Colbert adjusted his navy blue tie and flashed his signature smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway," Colbert announced, his voice carrying that playful edge his fans know so well. "He's the man who wants to put people on Mars, chips in their brains, and apparently chaos on our Twitter feeds. Please welcome the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk." The audience erupted in a mix of cheers and scattered applause as Musk walked onto the stage, waving awkwardly. He wore a simple black t-shirt and blazer, his hair slightly messy as if he'd just stepped out of his rocket factory. The two men exchanged a brief handshake before sitting down, Colbert behind his desk and Musk in the guest chair. "Welcome back to the show, Elon," Colbert began cheerfully. "It's been a while since we've had you here." "Thanks for having me," Musk replied with a nervous smile. "Always good to be here." The interview started smoothly enough. They discussed SpaceX's recent launch and the new Tesla model hitting the market next month. The audience laughed at Musk's jokes about rocket science being actually not that complicated, and Colbert nodded along politely. But 15 minutes in, the mood in the studio began to shift. What started as friendly banter took a sharp turn when Colbert brought up Musk's social media habits. "So, Elon, I have to ask." Colbert leaned forward, his smile still in place but his eyes narrowing slightly. "What's with all the bizarre tweets lately? Do you have someone checking these before you hit send, or is it just straight from brain to thumb?" A few nervous chuckles rippled through the audience. Musk shifted in his seat, his smile fading. "I just tweet what I think is interesting or funny," Musk answered, shrugging. "People take things too seriously. Like when you tanked your own stock price with that 420 tweet," Colbert pressed. "That was a $40 million joke. I don't know about you, but my jokes usually don't cost that much." The audience's laughter grew louder, and Musk's face tightened. He forced a smile, but anyone watching could see it didn't reach his eyes. "Well, that was a while ago. We've moved past that," Musk said flatly. "Have we, though?" Colbert continued, warming to his subject. "Because I'm looking at Tesla's stock lately, and it seems like your shareholders haven't quite recovered from your, let's call them, online adventures." The cameras cut to a graphic showing Tesla's stock performance, highlighting several dramatic dips that coincided with controversial Musk tweets. The audience gasped. "That's not fair," Musk protested, his voice rising slightly. "Tesla's creating sustainable energy solutions and revolutionizing the auto industry. Stock prices go up and down for lots of reasons." Sure," Colbert nodded, his tone growing more sarcastic. "And I'm sure your Cybertruck windows were supposed to break during that demo too. Very revolutionary." The audience erupted in laughter again, and Musk's face flushed red. The tension in the studio was becoming palpable now. "Look, innovation involves taking risks," Musk said, his words coming faster now. "Not everything works perfectly the first time." "Speaking of not working perfectly," Colbert continued, seemingly oblivious to Musk's growing discomfort, "let's talk about those self-driving cars. How many accidents are we up to now?" "I'm losing count." Musk's jaw clenched. "Our safety record is better than human drivers, actually. The media just reports when cars crash themselves into fire trucks," Colbert interrupted. "How unfair of them." By now, the show's producers were getting nervous. The red light on camera 2 was blinking rapidly, the signal to wrap up and go to commercial. But Colbert wasn't finished. "And let's not forget the Boring Company," he continued. Wasn't that supposed to revolutionize transportation with underground tunnels? Last I checked, it was just a fancy one-lane road under Las Vegas. Very boring indeed. The audience's reaction was mixed now. Some laughed, others sat uncomfortably. Musk's expression had darkened completely. "Those tunnels are just the beginning," he said through gritted teeth. "We're solving real problems while people like you sit back and make jokes." Colbert raised an eyebrow, sensing he'd struck a nerve. "Hey, making jokes is my job. Your job is sending cars to space, right? Or was it selling flamethrowers? I can't keep up." Something changed in Musk's eyes then. A flash of genuine anger breaking through his usually controlled public persona. "You know what, Stephen?" Musk said, suddenly sitting up straighter. "I came on this show to talk about important work we're doing. Sustainable energy, making humans multiplanetary. Real issues that matter for the future of civilization." "Multiplanetary?" Colbert repeated, his voice dripping with skepticism. "You can't even keep your Twitter followers happy on this planet. Maybe fix Earth before breaking Mars?" The audience fell completely silent. The joke had crossed a line, and everyone in the studio knew it. The producer was frantically waving from off stage now, but both men ignored him. "You think this is all a joke?" Musk asked quietly, his voice dangerously calm. "While you're sitting here making fun of people trying to solve real problems, what exactly are you contributing?" Colbert's smile faltered for just a moment before he recovered. "Well, I make people laugh, Elon. Not accidentally, like your Hyperloop project, but on purpose." The tension crackled between them like electricity. The commercial break signal was now impossible to ignore, with producers making frantic cutting. Motions from the wings. "We'll be right back after these messages," Colbert said to the camera, forcing cheerfulness into his voice. "Don't go away, folks. Our conversation with Elon Musk is just getting interesting." As the applause sign flashed and the cameras temporarily stopped rolling, Musk leaned over and whispered something to Colbert that the microphones didn't catch. Whatever it was, it made Colbert's face freeze. The floor director counted down, "And we're back in 5, 4, 3... What happened next would become one of the most talked-about moments in late-night television history. As the cameras started rolling again, the tension in the studio was thick enough to cut with a knife. The audience, sensing something was off, sat in uneasy silence. Colbert's usually warm smile seemed forced now, his knuckles white as he gripped his pen. "Welcome back to The Late Show," Colbert said brightly, but his voice had a new edge to it. "We're here with Elon Musk, talking about innovation." He said the last word like it was in quotation marks. Musk's jaw tightened visibly. "You know, before the break, we were discussing your various projects," Colbert continued. "Let's talk about Neuralink. You want to put computer chips in people's brains, right? What could possibly go wrong there?" "Neuralink has the potential to help people with serious neurological conditions," Musk replied stiffly. "Paralysis, blindness, and let me guess, it'll also let people download kung fu like in The Matrix?" Colbert interrupted. "Or maybe just download your Twitter feed directly into their brains? Talk about a headache." The audience laughed nervously. A woman in the front row covered her mouth, eyes wide. "You're trivializing important medical research," Musk said, his voice rising slightly. "This technology could help millions of people." Sure, Colbert nodded, not backing down. "Just like the Tesla Semi was going to revolutionize trucking. How many of those are actually on the road now? 2? 3? Musk's face flushed red. "We're ramping up production. These things take time." "Speaking of time," Colbert pressed on, "remember when you said full self-driving would be ready in 2016? Then 2018? Then 2020? What year are we predicting now? 2030? 2050? The studio grew uncomfortably quiet. Even Colbert's band looked concerned, exchanging glances as the interview spiraled further away from the usual light-hearted late-night banter. You clearly don't understand the complexity of the technology, Musk snapped. We're solving artificial intelligence problems that have never been solved before. Oh, I understand, Colbert shot back. I understand that Tesla's stock dropped another 10% this week. I understand that you've been promising things for years that haven't materialized. And I understand that your loyal fans keep buying it. Literally. Musk sat up straighter, his eyes narrowing. Tesla's market cap is still one of the highest in the automotive industry. We've changed the entire market. Every car company is making electric vehicles now because of us. Right, Colbert said, waving his hand dismissively. And I'm sure those spontaneously combusting batteries were also part of the master plan? A little built-in campfire feature for those long road trips? Several audience members gasped audibly. This was beyond the usual celebrity interview. This was becoming uncomfortable to watch. That's completely false information, Musk said, his voice now dangerously quiet. Battery fires are extremely rare in Teslas compared to gasoline car fires. Tell that to the shareholders watching their investments go up in smoke, Colbert retorted. Speaking of smoke and mirrors, how's that robo-taxi fleet coming along? Weren't we supposed to have 1 million of those by now? The camera cut to Musk, whose face had gone from red to white. His hands gripped the arms of his chair so tightly his knuckles were pale. You invited me here just to mock me, didn't you? Musk asked, his voice barely controlled. This isn't an interview. It's a hit job. A murmur ran through the audience. This wasn't part of the script. This wasn't the usual playful back and forth that celebrities and hosts engaged in. Something real was happening. I'm just asking questions, Elon, Colbert said, spreading his hands innocently, but his eyes remained sharp. Questions your shareholders probably want answers to. Like why Tesla's stock keeps plummeting every time you decide to buy another social media platform or sell fancy perfume. I came here to talk about the future, Musk said, his voice rising. About making life multiplanetary. About sustainable energy. Not to be ridiculed by someone who doesn't understand what we're trying to accomplish. Oh, I think I understand perfectly, Colbert countered. You make big promises, your stock goes up, you sell some shares, then move on to the next shiny object. Mars colonies, robot taxis, underground tunnels, brain chips. It's like a rich kid with ADHD and a credit card. There was a moment of absolute silence in the studio. Then Musk stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. This interview is over, he said, his voice shaking with barely contained fury. What's wrong, Elon? Colbert pressed, standing up as well. Can't take a joke? I thought you were all about free speech these days? Musk reached for his microphone, his hands trembling with anger. He yanked it off, tossing it onto Colbert's desk with a loud clatter that echoed through the silent studio. I've had enough, Musk declared, glaring at Colbert. I can't take this anymore. The audience watched in stunned silence as one of the world's richest men turned on his heel and started walking toward the exit. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk, Colbert called after him, gesturing dramatically. Leaving faster than Tesla's quality control team. Musk stopped in his tracks. Everyone in the studio held their breath. For a second it seemed like he might turn around and charge back at Colbert. Instead, without looking back, he said something that the microphones barely picked up. You'll regret this, he muttered, just loud enough for the front row to hear. The studio door slammed behind Musk with a bang that seemed to echo in the stunned silence. For several seconds, nobody moved. The audience sat frozen in their seats. The band members exchanged wide-eyed glances, and even Stephen Colbert seemed momentarily at a loss for words. Then, recovering his composure, Colbert turned to the camera with a forced smile. Well, folks, I guess Elon Musk just proved he can exit faster than his employees leave Tesla. We'll be right back after these messages. As the applause sign flashed weakly, the audience gave an uncertain, scattered clap. The red light on the camera blinked off, signaling they'd cut to commercial. Immediately, chaos erupted on the set. "What just happened?" a producer shouted, rushing onto the stage. "Stephen, this wasn't the plan." Colbert loosened his tie, his face flushed. "He couldn't take a joke. Not my fault." Behind the scenes, Musk stormed through the backstage area, ignoring the shocked faces of crew members and the frantic calls of his own PR team, who had been watching the disaster unfold from the wings. "Mr. Musk, wait!" called his young assistant, running after him. "Your car is out back. Please, let's just go quietly." But Musk wasn't listening. He pulled out his phone and began typing furiously. Within seconds, his first tweet appeared. "Just walked out of Colbert Late Show. When comedy becomes personal attacks, it's not funny anymore. Sad to see how low these shows will go for ratings." Back on set, a stage manager approached Colbert with a tablet, showing him the tweet. "Stephen, you might want to see this. It's already going viral." Colbert glanced at the screen, his expression darkening. "He's playing the victim now? After all the things he said about people online?" The producer looked nervously at his watch. "We're back on air in 45 seconds. What are you going to say?" Colbert straightened his jacket. "I'm going to tell the truth. This isn't some scripted bit that went wrong. The guy couldn't handle being called out." 10 seconds, called the floor director. As the cameras began rolling again, Colbert faced the audience, who were still buzzing with excitement from the unexpected drama. "Welcome back to The Late Show," he began, his tone more serious than before. "As you just saw, our guest Elon Musk decided to leave rather abruptly. I want to be clear about something. This wasn't planned. This wasn't a bit. What you witnessed was a genuine reaction to being questioned," the audience murmured. This kind of candid moment rarely happened on carefully orchestrated late-night television. "Look, I'm a comedian," Colbert continued. "My job is to make jokes, sometimes at the expense of public figures. If you put yourself in the spotlight, if you take to social media every day to share your opinions on everything from submarines to stock markets, you can't be surprised when people push back." Meanwhile, outside the studio, Musk's driver sped through Manhattan as the billionaire continued his Twitter tirade from the back seat. "Colbert thinks tanking Tesla stock is funny? Wonder how CBS stockholders will feel about tonight's show." Boycott Colbert. The hashtag was already trending, with Musk's loyal followers rallying to his defense. At the same time, clips of the confrontation were spreading across social media platforms at lightning speed. Back in the studio, Colbert was wrapping up his explanation to the audience. "Sometimes, comedy punches up at the powerful. That's what we did tonight. And sometimes, the powerful don't like it. But that's our job, to ask the questions others won't. To point out when the emperor has no clothes, or when his Cybertruck has no unbreakable windows." The audience laughed more genuinely this time, and applauded. Colbert nodded, seeming to appreciate their support. "We'll be back tomorrow with a guest who hopefully has a better sense of humor. Good night, everybody." As the show ended and the audience filed out, the incident was already making headlines. "Musk melts down on late night," read one. "Colbert roasts Musk. Billionaire can't take the heat," declared another. By morning, the video had been viewed over 20 million times. News channels played the clips on repeat, with panels of experts debating who was in the wrong: the host who pushed too far, or the billionaire who couldn't take criticism. Tesla's stock did indeed drop 5% when markets opened, but rallied by afternoon as Musk tweeted about an upcoming product announcement, effectively changing the subject. Colbert's ratings, meanwhile, soared to their highest level in years. 3 days later, as the controversy began to fade, Colbert opened his show with a more measured tone. "I've had some time to reflect on what happened with Elon Musk earlier this week," he told his audience. "While I stand by my right to question powerful people, I also recognize that jokes can sometimes land differently than intended. My goal is always to entertain, not to hurt." He didn't quite apologize, but the statement was enough to calm the waters. For his part, Musk had moved on to tweeting about Mars missions and AI advancements, having seemingly put the incident behind him. The confrontation eventually took its place in late-night television history, a rare moment when the carefully constructed facade of celebrity interviews cracked, revealing the real tensions that exist between public figures and those who comment on them. Months later, when asked in a podcast if he'd ever return to The Late Show, Musk laughed. "Probably not. But hey, at least people saw the real Stephen Colbert that night, and maybe the real me too." In a media landscape filled with scripted moments and carefully managed appearances, for just a few minutes, viewers had witnessed something authentic. The genuine friction between two men with very different worldviews, playing out in real time for all to see. And that, perhaps, was why the clip would continue to be shared and discussed long after both men had moved on to other battles. In a world of manufactured content, real emotion, even uncomfortable emotion, stands out. The Late Show continued. Elon Musk continued building rockets and electric cars. But for one evening, the carefully maintained rules of celebrity and talk show host engagement had been broken, giving viewers a glimpse behind the curtain of power, fame, and the sometimes fragile egos that come with both.